Greetings. Welcome to week 7. This is the final week of what we're looking at in the module of assessment and administrating assessment and assessment tools. So during week 6, you were given several different informal evaluation tools or assessment tools to use with your practicum student. This week, in week 7, we're getting into an informal reading inventory, and then also how to create a plan and develop a report based on all of your findings from week 6 and week 7. So we'll get into that a little bit more. The QRI is one of many different kinds of reading inventories. They all have something in common in the sense that you're trying to find text levels. So the QRI helps you determine what text level that student is currently at an instructional level, but then also going back to that thinking that it isn't just about the levels, that's about what the student can do and where can you take them next. And again, this is where the continuum of literacy learning comes in really helpful, because once you find that text level or that approximate level in comparison to the Fountas and Pinnell text levels, you can see what the child can do and then see where your teaching needs to go next in order to help that student accelerate their literacy learning. So basically you're going to be pulling together what you've done last week, and then the QRI for this week. You're going to be delivering the QRI to your practicum student and writing a report for the parents that gives your results, the analysis of your results, and a plan for what would be next and with that student. So objectives, readings, and resources. For this week, your objectives are to evaluate, administer an informal reading inventory using the QRI. And again, this is one of many that are out there in your schools. Might use something different, but this will give you a good understanding of what an informal reading inventory is. The QRI text has everything that you need in order to give this assessment to pre-K all the way up to high school and beyond, I guess, depending on the students that you're working with. So you'll be able to evaluate findings and make recommendations, and then develop a plan that will focus on students' highest area of literacy development needs, and then work with that student within that area, which will be that practicum portion. So your textbook readings this week you're going to be reading the QRI chapters 1 through 4, and then within that reading you'll learn how to administer, score, and interpret the informal reading inventory. You also have a DVD that came with your QRI, and this DVD has examples of students reading orally, scored protocols. It has all of the protocols that you would need in order to administer, so if you can just print that off, it's a great thing to have just right in your computer when you're working with your student, if you have that available to you, to just print the level that you need off based on your starting point. So then there are 2 integrity sections, the 605, adaptations for student success, and then training, understanding and using standardized reading tests. So those will be 2 integrity sessions that you'll view this week to help you with your plan and your understanding of this week's learning objectives. So go back to here. The first part, the assignment that's due this week, at the end of week 7, is your practicum student parent report. Practicum student parent report. You're writing a report for your practicum students' parents or their classroom teacher, and you're going to summarize your findings of the assessments, all of the assessments that you give your student. You're going to provide recommendations for meeting the students' needs in the classroom. The writing rubric is the one we use for the course, and that your report, again, should be approximately 2 to 4 pages. What's most important is that you cover your entire summary and all your recommendations. So again, however many pages it is, it's fine as long as you include all of that information. This report should be written in parent-friendly language. Be careful to use language that we so often slip into because it's our profession, because parents may not be as versed in all of this information as we are. So that's the parent report assignment that's due this week. The other part of your assignment is administering the assessments. So you're going to administer the QRI and find the student's instructional level. So with this, in the text in the QRI, often they'll ask you to find the independent, instructional, and hard level. And you'll be reading more about those levels when you read the QRI this week. But when you're looking at finding a text level, I want you just to go up to the point of where that instructional level is. You don't have to find a hard level. As soon as you find an instructional level, most often you have plenty of work that you can do within that level. So continuing to go higher and higher to push the student to see where they would top out at is not really helpful, because you have there's work to be done at that first instructional level that you encounter. So you're also going to conduct the 6 assessments from week 6 on reading, spelling, and written language for a struggling student as part of this clinical practicum. You will find copies of those assessments back in week 6 that I showed you during the video for week 6. After you have completed those assessments with your students, you're going to scan the documents or take a photo and upload each of those images to this assignment page. And that is what I will use to, that along with your journaling that you do with your student for those 10 hours is how I will grade that practicum assignment. If you have any questions or concerns or just curious about the students' results, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me, and we can look at those together. I think it's really important that we're using each other as well to think around these kids, because in the educational setting, you're going to be needing to do that also all the time. So it's important to have people to go to that can help you think around kids and the learner and the learning. So the final thing is the 10-hour practicum assignment, and this is a preview because it's not due until Sunday of week 8. For this assignment, you're going to work with your student on the area that you find is their highest literacy need. After you conduct the first few hours of assessments, so that the 10 hours, the first few hours will be giving those assessments, the remaining hours will be used to work with the child on their literacy needs. This part of the assignment is about the learner and the learning. We want to look at what the child has in their control and where to take them next. This format is very similar to coaching formats you may see in some schools. So keep that in mind, that it's really always about the learner and the learning and where to take them to accelerate their learning needs and their growth. You're going to create a journal for each session you spend with your student. And remember, depending on the age, the most effective amount of time you should spend with the student is between 30 to 45 minutes per session. This is research-based, so if in the schools and if you're out tutoring on your own, really think about how much time that you are working with that child. The more is not necessarily better. So keep that in mind with that 30 to 45 minutes per session. However, due to the nature of what we're doing and actually being able to complete all 10 hours, if your session periods go from an hour to an hour and a half, that's acceptable, but just keep in mind and be aware of how your student's responding. You don't want this to be wasted time either just to get it done. You want it to be a learning and growing experience for not only for you, but for your student too. Your journal should include date of your session and a brief 2 to 3 sentence lesson plan based on either the assessments that you give or a previous session, and then a brief reflection of your session. That will be uploaded and that due at that Sunday of week 8, the end of that week. So. All right, that is week 7, and one more week after this, and we're all done. So thanks.